Hi there and welcome to this video on bunkers. Yes, bunkers, and we're going to start inside. I'm going to explain a few things to you which will then go out and put into a bunker, but hopefully this will make you understand a bit more about bunkers. So we're going to be using a board, so a strike board, to explain what we're looking to do. Now, the sole of your club is called a bounce, okay? So this is called a bounce, and the reason why it's called that is because when we hit the shot, we want the club to hit down and bounce, okay? Or you can think of it as a skid. The quicker the back of the club can skid through the sand, the more spin you can put on the ball, okay? So we're going to teach you how to skid it off the board like this, and then we're going to go outside and play it, and then we're also going to have a look at some spin numbers. So I'm going to hit some shots where I come down too early and we hit the through, and then where we have the face at the wrong angle, and then we're going to hit a couple of good ones. And what that will show us, we'll get some data up, and it will show us the launch numbers, so how quickly the ball gets elevated and then how much the ball spins. Okay, so bunkers are about bouncing. As I said, you want to hit down into the sand, let it bounce. If the leading edge catches, it will dig. Okay, so the only real reason why you might open up the sand iron is to get the bounce to hit. So as I said, we're trying to hit with that part of the club. You can see the leading edge is off the floor. So that you can see how the leading edge is off the floor. I'm not trying to hit it here, I'm trying to hit the back, because that's where we'll get the most bounce. The quicker this bounces, the more spin we get. So if you were to play on wet sand, wet compact sand, the club bounces or skids faster, therefore you will generate more spin. If you've got deep fluffy sand, the club's going to take longer to go through, you won't get as much spin, the ball will come out probably a little bit lower and it will release more. So all of you golfers that don't like wet sand, actually to hit a better bunker shot, if the sand's more compact, a bit damper, it's easier to skid through, it's easier to generate spin. So let's pop this down and we'll have a go. So let's get the ball on there. Okay, so this first one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the shot. Let me just clear this actually, hang on. Let me just clear these ones. So we can start again. Okay, let's change it to a wedge so we know where we are. Okay, just going to change this as well to a wedge. Wedge, accept. Okay, so we're ready to go. So what I'm going to do here, shot number one, I'm going to hit a fairly good one. So what I'm going to do, you want to come down steep, and I'm going to come down steep. I'm going to bash this part here into the board, and I'm going to whip it through, and the ball would generate some decent spin numbers. Let's have a go. Back, through. So that's gone really high, so high it's gone through there. Let's find the ball. So as you can see, I didn't hit it too hard. Put this one down again. Okay, so that on there, backspin was 7398 and the launch was 44. What I'm going to do this time, I'm going to hit one with a square club face, okay, and I'm going to hit it too far back. So this is where most golfers hit. Okay, so that one there, had, okay, launch was 36.5, so quite a bit down, and the backswing was in the 6,000s. So this time what we're going to do is come in shallow, okay? So we're going to swing through shallow, so in other words, we're going to hit the board too far back. Let's just have a go. And each time you can hear the club bouncing off the board. We're trying to whip it through. That one there, okay, so that one there again, that reduced backspin even more because, as I said, we're catching the sand too early. Now what I'm going to do this time is go very steep and get as close to the ball as I can, and we'll see what we can do. Okay, so that would have been a lovely bunker shot, that one. That should have had high numbers. Let's have a look. Yeah, so 7,500 and a good launch that time. So every time I've hit the board, okay, we're not hitting the ball, I'm hitting the board, and as it comes down I'm bouncing, but I want you to think of the bounce as a skid. We want the club to skid through. Let's have a look at some numbers. Let me just put the camera up there, see if we can find some numbers. Let's have a look. Oh, hang on. Okay, so if you look here, so the ball speed, the second one had the squarer club face, and that ball speed was 55. And that's the one that I got the leading edge to hit, whereas the other ball speed was 44, 48. So it's quite a bit faster. It had an awful lot lower launch. So because we had less loft, and because the leading edge hit, the launch was lower. And even though it was a faster ball speed by 10 miles an hour, the backspin was considerably lower than some of the others. So that's what we're looking at, is the backspin and this launch angle that changes by how we get it to go through the sand. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go outside, we're going to have a go, I'm going to show you how to hit the shot, go through some technique. I'm also going to do some video footage of shots which work well, which don't work well, so you can see the difference. So when you're in the bunker and you hit a shot, whether it's a good or bad one, you can see the result and think, okay, perhaps this is what happened. Okay, so here we are, we're out in the bunker, and now let's talk about a bit of setup first of all, and then we'll go into technique. So setup wise in a bunker, you stand further from the ball than normal. The reason why you're going to stand further is because what we're trying to do is get this club as thin as possible. The thinner the club is, the easier it can bounce or skid through the sand, the faster it can go, the more spin we can generate, and the easier it'll make the shot for you. So if you have the club here and I move it up, can you see the height of the club? Okay, so that's that high. If I move the shaft down, see how thin we've got it? It's again up, down. So the further away you can stand, the thinner you can make this club, the easier it's going to be to get through some sand. So if I was going to hit a chip with this club, I'd be here. See how close I am? So there's a line there. If I was to play a bunker shot, I'm almost double the distance. So I'm a lot further away and my hands are quite low. So my hands, you can see, they're almost at knee height and I'm quite squatted. That's to help to get the shaft down, and it's all to make this club thinner, which makes playing the shot and getting through the sand so much easier. So that's the first thing. Ball position. I think you should always have the ball fairly middle in your stance for a bunker shot. So, and they always talk about opening the club face, and you would only open the club face so you can use the bounce, okay? Or if you want it to not go too far. So the idea of opening the club face is to get this bounce further down so it can then be used properly. If we address it like this, as you can see, the leading edge might come into the sand too early and dig. So what I like to do, let's say we put the club in and we're going to add loft, okay? So now I stand square to the shaft. Okay, so my feet are aiming level with where my shoulders are aiming, but my club points at the target the whole time. I don't want to see the club pointing to the right, because that's where you shank the golf ball. If it points to the right too much, you can come, hit the swing down, and you can see the heel of the golf club is going to hit the ball. So, club leading edge pointing at it, shaft level with you. We don't want to see a forward position here, because again that's going to introduce the shank to the shot an awful lot more, and we certainly don't want to help it back. Now what we're trying to do is that we're trying to hit the sand between 1 and 4 inches. So if I draw these two lines, 1 and there. So as you can see, we've got the two lines in the sand, and that between 1 and 4 inches behind the ball. When we hit, we need to hit between those two. I am going to show you what happens later on some shots when we hit behind or we hit afterwards and therefore catch the ball. But for the meantime, we can try to play the shot correctly. Okay, so that's where we need to hit the sand. I've got the camera set up here so we can see where I do actually hit it. So let's have a go. So we're here. I shuffle my feet in to the sand, give me a nice bit of grip, also help lower me to make it easier to hit sand. And also, once you've set the club up, then you take your grip. So as you can see, the club face is already this little bit open because I've already preset the angle. I have a little bit of weight on my left side, but not too much. Now, on a normal golf swing, you'd swing back and you'd swing through. And that means the position of a club near the impact is quite shallow. Whereas for a bunker, we literally want to go up, because remember, you want to hit down, because then that gets the club to bounce, then you can whip it through, create the skid, create the loft, and create the spin. So this is much more straight up, straight down into the sand, and of course, as you all know, the follow through is what helps to get the ball out. So I've set myself up, we've got the small camera here to see where I hit the sand. The club face is pointing towards the flag. Let's just have a go. So watch this, up and down. Up, down, didn't hit it hard enough. It's out of the bunker, but as you can see, I've hit the sand here. So the first line was there, the second line was there, and I've hit dead in between them. And see, there was no effort on that, and the ball came out of the bunker. I just want to show you something, how easy it is to get a ball out of a bunker. So I'm going to draw these two lines again. So one at 1 inch and one at 4 inches. So I'm going to have a go one-handed this time to prove to you you don't need power to get the ball out of a bunker. If I can do it one-handed, then I'm sure you can do it with two hands. So I set myself up, and again, all I'm trying to do is to hit the sand between these two lines. If I do that, hopefully this ball should come out. Let's have a go. There we go, so one-handed, up, and as you saw, the ball actually spun and stopped very, very quickly. And as you can see, I've hit here. The first line was there, the second line was there. So because I hit the sand in the correct place, and I can't say this enough to you, between 1 and 4 inches, because I hit between those two spots, the ball came out of the bunker, and that was with one hand. So let's go through this again. So now we're going to really use the bounce. As we showed you it inside, the club hit and then it whipped through. So what I'm going to do, as I hit, I also try to whip it, but what I'm going to do is actually open the club face. But opening the club face helps with spin and helps with launch. So when you have those high banks, that's how we can get them out. So set myself up, I'm in this position here, weight forward, and remember, it's up, it's down, and this time I'm going to add a little bit of whip. I'm whipping it, I'm skidding it through the sand. So let's have a go. So watch this, up and down, bit of a skid, and there you go. So that popped out nice and close to the flag, and it bounced and stopped immediately. That's the spin, and there's no power there. Too many of you come in, go back, and you give it an almighty wallop. That's just not going to work. Okay, so that's how you play the shot properly. You go up, you want this part here, okay, let me show you, this part here of the club to hit the ground, and once it hits, it will bounce, and you want to skid it. By standing further away, you get the club thinner. That helps to get through the sand, and as I go through, I'm going to open the club face. What we're going to see now is I'm going to hit some shots, and I'm going to talk to you about how I'm going to hit it first of all, and then we're going to see how the ball comes out and how the spin changes, the distance changes. I might not get some out of the bunker, so I sort of hit a few bail bonds, so when you play the shots and don't quite get it right, hopefully you can work out what you've done wrong. Okay, so here we go. We're going to hit a few different shots, and we'll talk about how we're going to play it, and we'll see how the ball changes. So we've got the camera here to see the ones that land on the green and how they spin and react, and hopefully from this one you can see how the ball changes. So what we're going to do first of all is try to hit a good one, so we can see how the ball pops out again, up and down, hit the sand, and you see that sort of landed with hardly any run out towards the flag. So that one there I hit in the right place, and I had the club bouncing and skimming through the sand. What I'm going to do now, I'm now going to hit the sand too far back. So I'm going to be out of the 1 to 4 inches. So let's have a go. So I've managed to get that one out. I don't think I was too far back on that one. Let's have another go. Okay, so this one here I'm going to hit way too far back. Okay, that was better. See how the ball doesn't move? and that's what happens when you hit too far back. Let's have another go, try and hit too far back. So I've hit that one harder, the ball's just not going to come out. So when you hit the sand and the ball does not come out of the bunker, that means you've hit further than this behind the ball. The club only stays under the sand for a certain amount of time, so you've hit behind the ball, it's come out, and it's actually come out of the sand before the ball. The other thing I see quite a lot is this one. There you go. So that one there. Now what happened there, I hit the sand, but again I was too far back and the club actually came out where the ball was, catches the ball, and you ping it across the other side. So you can actually hit the ball by hitting the sand too early, because you only have a certain amount of time under the sand, it then comes out and catches the ball. Okay, so you've got to be very careful. And then obviously if I hit the ball and not the sand, let's have a go. Okay, so that one there, as you can see, it generally hits the bank. So if you hit the ball on 2 occasions, one hits the bank and one actually comes out and goes a mile. The difference is the one that hits the bank, you've probably hit the sand too late. So you're hitting the ball, you haven't hit the sand. And the one which carries the bunker and goes a long way, you've hit the sand too far back, you've had your journey under the sand, and you've come out where the ball is, you've made contact with the ball. Okay, so they're the things you've got to watch out for. So a good practice would be to draw 2 lines in the sand, one at 1 inch, one at 4 inches behind the ball. Okay, so let's just have a go now and get the leading edge to hit. So normally I'm bouncing it. This time here I'm going to dig down with the leading edge. So let's have a go. So as you can see, there's no follow through. So the reason why there's no follow through is the club's digging down, it's not bouncing, and that's another common one. Let's have another go here. So leading edge is going to hit first. So I've hit that even harder and the ball's not going to come out. So on that occasion, you've hit the sand in the correct place, but because it was the leading edge here, so the leading edge digs, whereas had it been the back of the club, it would have bounced. So let's try and change that and get the back of the club to hit the sand. Let's have a go. Okay, so as you can see, the ball comes out, lands, and only has a little bit of run. So the bunkers are about bouncing and skidding. You want to get the club as thin as possible. Stand further away, squat your legs more, so a bit more bent. You want to hit in the right place, so you are hitting down, but as you hit, you also whip. Now, depending on what you do here, you can actually change the release of the ball a tiny bit. So let's say I wanted, I don't know, a bit more run. What I would do, instead of opening the club face, I could hit it in exactly the same way, roll it over, and I should be able to generate a bit more run. Let's have a go. So there you go, she comes out lower, and as you can see, that's landed and run. Okay, so all I did there on the spinny one, as I go through, I whip it opening the club face. You can see that's open, almost pointing back towards me. And if I want to release the ball, I still hit into the sand, but as I hit, I roll the club face slightly more closed. That will still get the elevation, not as high, so bear that in mind, but once it lands, it can then release a bit. So if you had a pin on a 2-tier, it was just on the top, you wanted to land it on the bottom, you could hit this shot. It's still a splash bunker shot, but it lands and it releases. Watch the tour pros, sometimes they play that shot. Okay, so bunkers, remember, are about bouncing, are about skidding. You have to do that. You have to hit between 1 and 4 inches behind the ball. The closer to the ball you get, the more spin you will generate. Okay, the steeper you can come down, the closer to the ball, the higher the ball will pop. So when you have these bunkers that are really high lips and you're worried about the ball coming out, too many golfers, what they do is they lean back, and then by leaning back, you shallow off your angle of attack, you hit the sand too early, you either come out and hit the ball, or you come out too early and the ball doesn't go anywhere. You almost want to go the other way, where we want to go up, we want to hit down even steeper. So let's imagine we've got a high lip here, and watch how easy this is. Up, down, see look how high that's gone, hit the flag as well, it's a bit of luck. So the ball came out at this point here, that ball was up there somewhere. Well, you've got to be in one hell of a bunker to not be able to get the ball out, okay? And that's how you play bunkers. Have a go.